Could you still say he's an improving fighter? Because if you look at some of the last performances, he seems to be getting better still.
Yeah.
Where does it end? Canelo's normally the guy, and everybody's coming in and being respectful. You know, I'm fighting Canelo. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to try and win.
That's a good point.
Thank you. This guy's showing something different. He's not showing him any respect at all.
On November 6 at the MGM in Las Vegas, Saul Canelo Alvarez, a Las Vegas favourite, fights unbeaten Caleb Plant. Now, it's just another fight. Well, it's not just another fight, because on the line, for the first time in the super middleweight division, will be all 4 of the belts. Plant comes to the table with the IBF version, and Canelo, he's got the WBC, the WBO, and the WBA. It's a special fight. He's a special fighter. And today, we're going to look at what makes him special, but also what makes Caleb Plant special.
Champion versus champion. The biggest fight night of the year. Alvarez versus Plant. A fight to become an undisputed 4-belt world champion.
Don't get paid.
I'm going to knock out this guy. Less than 8 rounds.
I'm going to properly introduce myself at the highest level.
Good fast hand. Oh, that's surely it. And he puts him down with the left hand. Oh, that's a big shot again. And it is all over.
And to go through the strengths and weaknesses of the two boxers, I'm joined by former 2-weight world champion and BT pundit Carl Frampton. Carl, thanks for being with me. Now, when I think about Canelo Alvarez, I think about the 18 or 19 world champions he's met. And the one thing I do, and this is what everyone else seems to be doing, is overlook Caleb Plant. We'll talk about Plant a bit later. But I want to look first, if we can, at what Canelo does best. And what I think he does best might not be what you think he does best. So we'll start with what I think he does best, which is just be Canelo. Be nasty, be aggressive, get people hurt, and carry on hurting them. Is that a fair comment?
That's a fair comment. I think it's hard to actually pick what he does best because he's such a well-rounded fighter. But we're going to start off with his aggression here. And here we go against Kirkland.
This is a nasty one because he's been softening him up until we get to this point.
Yeah, it's just like the combinations. Once he lets his hands go, it's unbelievable. It's a joy to watch. And when he's being aggressive, the shots to body, uppercuts, head, he's feinting. But when he's aggressive, I think this is the most exciting Canelo is when he's doing what he likes to do. When he's in full flow like that, as a fighter like Kirkland in that position there, on the ropes, how do you throw back? Because you're just going to get tagged, you're going to get nailed, you're going to get countered. And I think when he's in full flow like that, it's an absolute joy to see.
With Kirkland, he managed to push Kirkland back and he was hurting him there. But when he fought Liam Smith, one of the Brits he's fought, he managed to do it from front foot, back foot, and as you're talking about there, the shots he was landing. He was also using, I don't know if we've got an example of this, his elbow, his head, his shoulder, and he can be dirty. That's one of the things Liam said about him constantly. But he gets to Liam with, as you say, unbelievable shots.
Yeah, listen, if you can do it and get away with it, you do it. Roberto Duran was one of the best at it, and Canelo in this generation, he is the best, I believe. But here he is against Liam Smith.
So Liam's offering him nothing there, and yet he's still finding gaps, Carl.
Yeah, Liam is such a tight defence and a very, very good defence, but I think he landed maybe, a lot of them were hitting the gloves as well, but he was finding gaps, but there was maybe 10 shots, maybe 12 shots, and Liam didn't counter. And Liam didn't try to throw back, and that's, how do you do it when you've got a master in front of you like Canelo? When do you throw back? When do you take your gloves away from the side of your head? Because, you're thinking, I'm in this position, I'm safe, and they're still hurting me and getting through. I think what is surprising at 31 years old is, could you still say he's an improving fighter? Because if you look at some of the last performances, he seems to be getting better still.
Yeah.
Where does it end?
I would argue that last year Callum Smith, unbeaten. This year Billy Joe Saunders, same situation. The way he dismantled the pair of them, the way he beat them in different ways, with power, with guile, with sense. I would say they're two of his finest performances against two men that should have really tested him. So I agree with you completely. How is a kid with all of that experience, all of those fights, all of those world title challenges, and the good men he's met, how's he still getting better?
The Callum Smith win for me especially, even the Billy Joe Saunders was an amazing win because Billy Joe is an incredible fighter, but Callum Smith I thought would have given him problems, and I thought he had a good chance of actually beating him going into the fight. So I had Callum Smith, I had Benavidez, and I had Plant's his next opponent, but Smith caused him no issues at all, but that was down to Canelo rather than Callum Smith, who's still a very good fighter.
Did you think Callum's size? Did you make the mistake? You know, you can hold your hands up. I'm going to hold both my hands up. Did you think that Callum's size, having that 6 or 7 inches in reach, having that 5 or 6 inches in height, did you think that had to be a factor?
Yeah, I thought size was going to be a big factor in the fight. Canelo, I've stood beside Canelo. He's probably. I'm 5'5" on a good day. He's probably 1.5 inches on me. Wow. Callum Smith, what, 6'3"?
Oh, and he's a big 6'3" as well, by the way.
6'3",
yeah.
and so you know, just anyone looking at that thinks his size is going to cause him issues, but he finds a way to nullify it.
We'll look at that in a bit more detail as we go and look at Caleb Plant's fights. But movement, I mentioned movement there, and I like Canelo's movement. I think it's massively underestimated.
This is him against Golovkin. One of the most feared punchers there's been of all time, probably.
He's standing in front of him.
Yeah, with hands down and just evading shots. He get hit with a couple as well there, but he's obviously, we all know about his chin. He's got a serious chin, but he's a brave fighter to be able to do that in front of a phenomenal puncher like Golovkin. I think it was the first fight, Golovkin landed an unbelievable right hand.
Cracking right hand.
His head almost came off, Canelo, but he just marched forward, continued to march forward. That's got to be infuriating if you're a puncher and you're landing them shots and you know it feels good, it feels lovely on your hand, and this guy just smiles at you and walks forward.
You're almost about to turn around and go to a neutral corner, a bit like Deontay Wilder in the 12th round with Tyson Fury in the first fight.
Yeah.
He's dropped him. He's hit him with a shot that's left everyone else unconscious.
Yeah.
So he's gone away and celebrated, only to see him wake up.
Yeah, he's still there and he's coming back throwing.
Now, that's one type of movement, standing in the pocket, as people say, and moving. But he's mobile as well. He can be mobile.
Yeah. And like I said, we're going to look at Smith again here, Liam Smith. And like I said earlier on, the most well-rounded fighter, I think, of the last couple of decades. Back to the ropes here. Smith not really wanting to commit too much because he's worried about being countered. But he just evades the shots there. Look, he's back out in the centre of the ring. He steps to the side. I don't know if Canelo throws anything here, but Smith throws maybe. So let's count the shots that he throws. 1, 2. He comes out the ring. He still hasn't thrown a shot. Where's one jab?
But that was an intentional
All missing.
miss.
That's another 3. 5 shots.
Yeah.
And he hasn't landed. He's defensively as sound as he is going forward as well.
I think his greatest knockout, I hate to say it, was against Amir Khan. Now, I don't want to show that out of respect to Amir. I really don't. But he also seriously cracks James Kirkland.
Oh, this is a great knock. I suppose the Khan one and this one, it's a toss-up, and depending on how you're feeling on any given day, but this knockout is absolutely sublime.
Oh.
So we're going to go right back to the start. If you look at that little feint that he does, I'm gonna hit play and I'm gonna slow it right down. Watch the feint just before the knockout shot. Feint to the body.
Shot.
Oh, bingo, right in the chin, as he was throwing as well. In my opinion, that is the best knockout.
Yeah,
that's even better than the Khan one. What a fantastic shot.
Carl, he's managed to get... He's so close when he throws that right hand, okay? He's gone to throw a body shot. Kirkland's fallen for it, understandably. No shame in that. And then he somehow managed to get the leverage on it to throw it. And that's because everything he throws, once he lets the right go properly, the turn is unbelievable. The twist from the toe down all the way through. He's coming all the way around like some sort of crazy golf shot.
Yeah, and he's thrown the left hook because he's been sold by the feint to the body. So he's trying to counter with the left hook, and he ends up with just on the deck looking at the stars.
We saw there when he throws a dummy, falls for it, understandably, he's on the ropes. But a bit earlier in that fight, well, a lot earlier in that fight, he throws a dummy or two, but more than that, it's his ability to counter, and he does it so smoothly. Yeah,
here he is in this fight again against Kirkland. So this was earlier in the fight, round 3 here. This uppercut just comes in now, any second now. He's waiting on it. Oh, what a shot. He's waiting on it. He's landed a couple. He's waiting on it, hands low, a slip and a bang right on the chin. It's really like it's textbook, isn't it? If you're a coach with a young fighter, you tell him to watch guys like Canelo.
I think what they all talk about, the men I've spoken to that have boxed him, whether it's Rocky Fielding, whether it's Ryan Rhodes, Matthew Hatton, is they talk about obviously his power and his strength and his whole persona, but they talk about his accuracy. And I think that's what we really saw there.
And he's so composed as well. Even in fights against like Khan, for example, Khan was giving him some trouble.
Yeah, cool.
But not that he relies on the power, but he knows as soon as I land, it's going to happen. So, and he's looking for openings all the time. And this was another example. Kirkland got back up, and obviously he got knocked out after that. But this was a fine example of him just waiting on the perfect shot.
Where are we going now?
Canelo training.
Oh, this is recent footage of him training, yeah.
But this is the sort of stuff you'll see all the time.
Yeah.
So blocking, slipping, but always punching after it and coming back and doing something. And that's how he fights. You have, as a fighter, little head movement here with the bag, but I think as a fighter, when you've got someone who's as good defensively as he is offensively, then it's such a difficult task and a difficult proposition. And Canelo, for me, is, like I said, harping on a bit, and I'm repeating myself, the most well-rounded fighter of the last 20 years or so. And
one thing, I mean, you look at this, as you're absolutely right, he never ever puts in place a move without putting in place a punch. There's no unnecessary movement, there's nothing silly and fancy. He moves, it's a shot. He moves this way, it's a shot.
You've made a good point. There's nothing unnecessary and nothing that he does, and there's no kind of logic behind it. Everything is for a reason. All in little slips, all in little feints. It's all for a reason.
And we've talked about how fighters have to maybe try and adapt to him and try and work out what he's going to do and try and come up with a plan. But maybe we're also selling short that he's trained Ready Reynoso and Canelo because of what they actually put into place. If you think about this last year, it's been a phenomenal year for him. Wins the version of the super middleweight title from Callum Smith, who's 6'3", 6'4", and a traditional boxer and a dangerous boxer, and then wins another version of it by stopping or forcing Billy Joe Saunders to retire, who's a totally different boxer to Callum Smith, and he prepared brilliantly for the pair of them. I know there's a fight in the middle. We're not going to talk about the Turkish guy yielding him because he just had to show up for a few shots and it was all over. But against those two unbeaten world champions, he's come up with totally different strategies that work perfectly.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There's potential that there are two of his. Obviously, the list of opponents that he's fought and beaten is unbelievable. But these guys at super middleweight, good, big super middleweights, established champions, and he's dealt with them with relative ease.
Let's have a look at Caleb Plant. Let's have a look at this kid with this great history. I mean, it's a shocking history and a great history. But what I like about him is I like his fluidity, I like his confidence, I like his arrogance. Yeah. I like his style, Carl, to be honest with you. He's got a little something.
I was lucky enough to train alongside him for a couple of sessions when I was in Las Vegas getting ready for one of my own fights. And you talk about the arrogance and you talk about high fluid, and he's got all that. And if you're a guy standing on the outside looking, you're thinking, oh, he's a bit too arrogant, not my cup of tea. Really down to earth kid, but he knows what he wants to do. Lovely kid actually in the gym when the cameras are off, but he's playing a game, but he can fight too.
And the key is, and we'll look at what he does good and what he maybe doesn't do as well. Can he carry that confidence and that arrogance, I mean, you know, it's good arrogance, into the ring against this guy?
I think so. I think he's going to be confident. I think the ring walk is going to be confident. I don't think you're going to see fear in this guy's eyes that he's up against, pound for pound, the best fighter on the planet. I think this guy will be full of confidence, thinking, if I beat this guy, I've ripped up the script, and I'm in the talking of potentially being pound for pound myself.
So what have you got for us?
The jab. It's got to be important. Here he is against Caleb Truax. His jab is lovely. He throws it from low, coming up, a good angle. Now, let's not get carried away. Caleb Truax is no Canelo Alvarez, but his jab is going to be so key in this fight. Well, I'm going to say the tactics have got to be, you keep your distance, you try and keep him on the end of that jab. It's easier said than done against Canelo. But this jab, have you seen it here against Truax? It's got to be important for him the whole way through the fight.
It's a fast jab, but it's a well-balanced jab, isn't it?
Yeah. He changes the angle of it as well sometimes. He's throwing it to the head here all the time, but he changes the angle. He goes to the body well with the jab. He throws it from kind of outside. He comes inside and throws it as well. But that has got to be a real important weapon if he's going to have any success in this fight. Not a hurtful jab, though.
It's a good jab, though, Carl.
Yeah, it is a good jab, but I think here in this clip anyway, I think you need to really get Canelo's respect. And if you're throwing little tippy-tappy jabs, you know, he's going to be able to evade them and get out of the road.
Now, in his breakthrough fight, it was against Uzcategui. Now, that was a guy who was big, 6'2", 6'3", and really strong.
Good fighter,
And
too.
he'd lost a couple, but he was fancied. Plant was the underdog. He hadn't boxed for, I think, about nearly a year. He'd had surgery on one of his hands. And he put up, not a masterclass is an overused expression, but it was a great performance.
Yeah, it was a comfortable win in the end. And here we're going to see some of his work again. Some nice stuff from him. But what he does is he trades with people and he gets very brave. And he's got a good chin himself. But I think that could be a dangerous proposition against Canelo. And I know for a fact guys like Andre Ward and Virgil Hunter will be drilling that into him.
They'll be saying, no trading, you don't need to do it, you're playing to his strengths. And Reynoso will be saying to Canelo, conversely, make him trade, get under his skin, get close to him, and make him try and stand with you.
I think something that a good coach always does, Reynoso, a very good coach, but he will be guessing at what their game plan's going to be. He'll be looking at this with great interest. Obviously, Virgil Hunter and Andre Ward coming in, and he'll be thinking, if I was in the other team, how would I fight Canelo? And I think that's always what a good coach does, and I imagine Reynoso will be doing that.
Now, I know why you've stopped it at this point, because what comes up next is, well, it's a perfect knockdown.
Yeah, he looks like he's under a bit of pressure here.
Well, he was under pressure, Carl.
Yeah, he was. His back's to the ropes. He throws a a right hand to the body and a lovely left hook, and it puts him on the seat of his pants. It was a flash knockdown. He was straight up again. That's what happened when you're fighting big guys.
The knockdown was two separate punches. It was a combo, but really it was two separate punches. But he can really put punches together. And when he does it, I think he looks terrific.
Yeah, he does look well. We'll see it here against Bunce, who, you know, we're not comparing to Canelo and all. But this is someone who's standing in front of him. And when he has an opponent who stands in front, when he lets them go, it's nice to see. It's nice combinations.
Good variety.
Good variety, body and head, changing the speed as well of the shots. But Canelo is not going to do that. Canelo's not going to stand in front of you with your hands up.
Canelo always talks about you can't get under my skin in the ring or outside of the ring. But about 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, they had a press conference. It was sunny. That was about the nicest thing you could say about the day. Carl, play that press conference in its entirety, and then we'll break it down.
So leading up to this point, so they're about to do the head-to-head, there was a fair bit of needle.
Yeah.
Even the coaches getting involved, Eddie
yeah.
Reynoso and Plant's coach as well, both getting involved, and he's confident. He's really confident here. But so's the wee man.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
And he is a wee man.
He ain't budging, is he?
No, he's not. He's solid as a rock. I'd love to know what was said, Steve.
Well, it will be full of swear words, I can tell you that now, because Canelo's master of English is all about swearing. It's beautiful. That's nasty stuff there, Carl. That's nasty. You can tell, can't you?
Yeah, there's definitely needle. There's needle and real, I suppose a bit more than needle, a bit of venom, a bit of hatred as well. But it's coming up now.
People are panicking.
Push from Canelo.
Definite push from Canelo. Right, now let's analyse that. Let's do it before
Let's go back.
Before we do it in replay,
Yeah.
what it looks like is Canelo bites. So you can't get under my skin. Canelo pushes him, Carl,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And then Plant walks back and he does that thing where you don't think he's going to throw a shot and he lets a shot go.
Yeah.
I want you to look at one thing here. I want you to look at Canelo's body as that shot comes in. Right.
Here he comes forward. Watch Canelo.
Look at his body shape.
Yeah, he's shaping up. He's got the left shoulder kind of forward.
He's
Plant's
ready.
walking in.
Yeah, Plant's walking
Square
in.
on, like a street fighter.
You got it. So Plant misses with
Yeah.
a wild left, open palm. Canelo's first counter, whilst we get this melee, is a left. And that's the one that I think causes the cut.
You know, it was started by Canelo in the push. Well, it was started by what was being said, but Canelo pushed him. Plant comes in to throw the shot, misses with it, and gets hit 2 slaps and comes away with a cut eye. Here's
And
a question.
broken glasses.
And broken glasses. Here's a question for you, Steve. The cut, it wasn't the worst cut in the world, but is that something that causes issues in the lead up to a
Absolutely
fight?
is. You're right in the middle of the sparring. You're 5 weeks away from the fight, so that means you're 4 weeks away or 6 weeks away from stopping sparring.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got to have a break, or you've got to
Is
spar.
that 2 weeks out? 2 weeks out of sparring with a cut like that?
Well, you might not have to miss any sparring, but you'd have to spar with a full head guard.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
unless you know, Carl, unless you're used to sparring with an absolute full-on head guard, it's a totally different experience. You know, if you spar with a normal head guard, you know, it's got the protection around there and comes down here, that's one thing. Suddenly you've got to pull on a full face mask, so literally you've just got your eyes showing.
Yeah.
That's a totally different thing, and it's also bad for getting your judgment, bad for getting your distance. So let's say you spent 2 weeks sparring with one of those. Then the next couple of weeks without that, that's going to be tricky. That's going to be dangerous. I'm convinced.
It's definitely something you need to be careful about, and it's definitely something. It's got to be something. Who knows what happened in the lead up to this fight after this cut? But it's something definitely that would have played an issue in the build up for Team Plant.
And when in the clips I've seen, this very small clip, as you pointed out, with Andre Ward, you can see a little mark there. I'm not saying it looks like a cut that's going to open. And in all fairness, if a cut opens 1.5 inches underneath your right eye, you're going to be fighting. It's just going to be bloody and gory. Let's get it right. I loved that press conference because I really felt. I mean, obviously it builds the fight, but I really saw some things there, and I liked the way Plant was angry afterwards. I also liked the sort of slight difference in Canelo. He wasn't quite as calm after that as I've seen him.
I think what's happened is Canelo's normally the guy, and everybody's coming in and being respectful. You know, I'm fighting Canelo. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to try and win,
That's
but
a good point.
thank you. This guy's showing something different. He's not showing him any respect at all. He's talked about the taint, you know, the drug test, and which has a big blotch in Canelo's career. But he brought it up, and he brought it up a lot, and it's something that definitely wound Canelo, and I suppose Eddie Reynoso up as well.
It really does wind them up. Listen, it's been great talking to you, Carl, about this. What's your gut feeling? That's slightly different from prediction. What's your gut feeling?
I think that it's going to be a good fight. I think that Plant will give him a lot of problems for a while anyway in some rounds. I just can't see past Canelo. I just feel like, as mad as a statement that this may sound, is he's right in his prime now and probably could potentially still be improving. Some of the recent results have been massive. Plant is a good fighter. He will give him issues, but I can't see past Canelo.
Yeah, I'm with you. Andre Ward fancies it going short in favour of Plant. I'm not so sure about that. Andre and get some wrong. Let's get it that way, and I think he's got that one wrong. Carl, thank you very much. So that's it. November 6th at the MGM in Las Vegas. I'll be ringside again, and I hope that makes you jealous. I really do. I'm sorry. You can watch it, though, live on BT Sport Box Office. What a night it's going to be.